My name is Manish Gupta, and in this video, I'm going to talk about this interesting benchmark called as Humanities Last Exam. It's a very interesting benchmark. Let's understand more details, right? So how hard is this Humanities Last Exam benchmark for the latest large language models? Okay, so this benchmark, the archive paper came up in January 2025. And at that point, they basically claimed, if you consider other benchmarks like GPQA, Math, and MMLU, latest LLMs like GPT-4o, O1, Sonnet 3.5, or Gemini are actually achieving significantly high, scores, accuracy scores. So, for example, on MMLU, every benchmark basically has more than 85% of scores. Every model has more than 85% accuracy scores. Okay, that is why they came up with HLE. HLE, as you can see, is basically very hard for these benchmarks, for these models. And each of the model basically is performing less than 10%, as you can see, right? So the benchmark contains 2,500 questions. 14% are multimodal in nature. 86% are text-only questions. 24% are multiple choice-based questions, while the remaining are short answer questions, such that they can be easily evaluated against predictions coming from these models. These questions are around, based on 100 plus subjects, where 41% are from math, 11% from biology or medicine, 10% from computer science or AI, and so on, right? So, but there are overall 100 plus different subjects or categories in this benchmark. These questions have been contributed by 1,000 plus experts, and these experts are not like usual lay persons. They are actually professors, researchers, and graduates from 500 plus institutions across 50 countries. Right? So each of these samples basically contains a question, and then it also contains an answer for short answer questions. But for multiple choice questions, it basically has the multiple choice options with the correct option also labeled. It also has detailed solution, and then the subject area that the question belongs to, and finally the contributor name and affiliation, so as to also track who actually contributed to this question and hold them accountable. Well, the way that they were able to, get help from professors, researchers, and graduates was to essentially give very awesome incentives. So for the top 50 questions, they actually gave like $5,000 as an extra, as an incentive. And $500 for the next 500 questions. So that's basically a huge amount. Overall, they spent like about $500,000 for this project. They also awarded paper co-authorship, gave an option for paper co-authorship to all the contributors. Questions in this benchmark are precise, unambiguous, solvable, and non-searchable. So non-searchable basically means that you cannot really even LLMs may not be able to solve by themselves, but can they use a search tool and answer them? Well, they cannot, right? And they also require graduate level expertise. The questions are not open-ended, they're not subjective, and they are not related to weapons of mass destruction. So to be able to evaluate various large language models on this benchmark, the authors used the O3 mini model as a judge. Before the benchmark was released, this table basically shows the results, the evaluation results. So as you can see, GPT-4o gives like 2.7% accuracy. The best model is O3 mini itself, which gives like 13.4% accuracy on this benchmark, basically saying that there is a long way to go for this benchmark, for models to basically be able to solve this benchmark. So they also measure the confidence with which these models are outputting their predictions, and they observed that all the models seem to be very confident on average when they basically put out these answers. Overall, basically, the conclusion is that the models really provide very incorrect answers with high confidence on this HLE benchmark, failing to even recognize when questions exceed their capabilities, right? So models are like overly overconfident here, right? Now, after the benchmark was released as late as like August 2025, just like last month, this is the updated table. So you can basically see that more progress has happened on the large language models world. Now we have models like Grok 4 and GPT-5 and Gemini 2.4 Pro and so on, 2.5 Pro and so on, right? And these models, sure, I mean, basically are able to obtain really good accuracy values. So the best accuracy right now on this benchmark is 25.4 from Grok 4 or 25.3 from GPT-5. really awesome accuracies. And if you really think about GPT-5, the calibration error is 50%, which basically also means that GPT-5 is also able to understand when it does not know the right answer, right? So this being lower is a good idea. Calibration error and accuracy being higher is a great idea. 25% is not really a great accuracy anyway, but it is better than 13.4, which was achievable in January 2025. Right. So just to basically give you a flavor of the kind of questions that are there, I'm showing 3 questions here. Things that I could relate with. There are more examples in the paper, and obviously more examples. You can download the entire data set from Hugging Face. Right. So look at this question. So this is basically some Roman inscription originally found on a tombstone. Provide a translation for this script, and a transliteration of the text is sort of provided. So you see the idea is that, and there is a contributor's name and so on. So pretty complicated question in that sense. And then, although I call myself as a computer scientist, but this question looks like way complicated here. I mean, like you see, let G be a graph and edge indicator is something such that something considers some Markov chain and some state space and so on and so forth. And there are like some five options. And then the model is supposed to basically say which of the following graph classes is well behaved. Okay, so where there is a definition of what well behaved means and so on and so forth. Okay, pretty complicated. There's some sort of chemistry question as well, which is interesting. I mean, you can surely read it, and if you're a chemist or an expert in chemistry, sure, maybe you can relate with it, but it's complicated. Okay. So the way they generated the data set is basically using several checks. So first, they basically invited people, giving the awesome $5,000 incentive for the top 50 questions. They invited people to submit questions. So some 70,000 questions were submitted. The first review was done by LLMs. And if LLMs could basically answer the questions very well, they removed those questions. So essentially, they depended on GPT-4o, Gemini 1.5 Pro, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, O1, O1 Mini, O1 Preview. O1 Mini and O1 Preview are just text-based models, but the others are also multimodal models. So if those LLMs could answer those questions, they just removed those questions, basically, right? So that's the way they did the LLM difficulty check. Then they basically also removed searchable questions. So if GPT-4o Mini or GPT-4o Search could use perplexity sonar models and search for the answers, they removed even those questions. Okay. The remaining questions were basically passed through 2 human review rounds, where the first review round basically was done by expert reviewers, and they suggested refinement. So it was done by 1 to 3 expert reviewers, like graduate level reviewers. And the idea was to refine the question to be more accurate, more precise, more closed, not open-ended, and so on, right? So that was done. And so basically, after 70,000 attempts, LLM difficulty check led to 13,000 submissions, which were reviewed and iterated upon. Now, the best ones from those were basically chosen by the organizers and experts. So there were like 6,000 candidates here, and these are organizers and experts basically took 2,500 and they basically made it available as the public set. Well, a small part of this has also been made, has also been kept secret as a private set for future evaluations, as models keep improving over time. So further, even after this, these 2,500 questions were made publicly available for community feedback using bug bounty programs, so as to just figure out, just ask in general broadly everyone that, hey, if you can find a bug, report it to us in this data set. Okay. Now, the evaluation, as I said, of various large language models was basically done using O3 Mini. And O3 Mini was used because even though these questions are multiple choice questions and short answer based questions, still, there could be answers which are equivalent. And therefore, to figure out equivalent answers, they basically used O3 Mini. A very good example is basically here. So the correct answer is this: cos of pi by n divided by 2 times 1 plus cos of pi by n, right? And the extracted answer, the answer predicted by the model was this: cot of pi by n divided by 2 times cot of pi by 2n. And O3 Mini nicely reasoned that, well, both of them are equivalent, and therefore the answer should be, therefore the model should be awarded a good, a point here, right? So that's the way they basically, did the review and the evaluation of the answers from the LLMs. So in summary, HLE is an interesting, benchmark data set Clearly, as you can see, the best model just got like about 25% accuracy. So, well, one can actually say that this is the last academic exam for technical knowledge and reasoning. It has been curated by professors and graduate researchers and students. So clearly, it is super complicated, and it covers 100 plus areas of human intelligence. So, however, one should not think about it as the last test for artificial general intelligence. Well, I mean, this one tests technical knowledge and reasoning, but it does not really test for open-ended research or creative problem-solving abilities. So that's that. Yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Hope you liked the video. Connect with me on my LinkedIn or look at my research on my homepage. Thank you.